Hey y'all, it's Hunter Elliott with rangehot.com. Hope everybody's doing well. This evening I want to talk to you about a carbine that I've grown quite familiar with and quite fond of, if you want to know the truth about it. This is the High Point 995 TS carbine chambered in 9mm Luger. Now it is true, a few years ago I have reviewed this already, but one of the main reasons that I'm revisiting it is because a company called Redball has introduced a 20-round single stack magazine. And I was just curious to see how well it ran, how reliable it was. So I thought this would be a really good time to revisit the review and check out the magazine. So first thing I want to show you is there is no magazine in this carbine. I do have the bolt locked to the rear and the chamber is empty. So with that in mind, the vast majority of the review, we did some 350 rounds through the gun. I'm going to say 90% of those were shot using this magazine, but we did run the factory 10-round magazine that obviously fits flush just to make sure it was reliable like we would expect it to be. And either or magazine didn't give any kind of trouble. During the review, I did load this Redball magazine. Sometimes we'd load it with 20 rounds, sometimes we'd load it with 10, sometimes we'd load just a few rounds in it. Just wanted to make sure it was reliable regardless of how many rounds was initially loaded in the magazine, and it was. So I think that's pretty cool. The one thing that you just need to be aware of is, since it is a 20-round single stack and you insert it into the pistol grip, it does stick out a pretty good ways. Now, I don't think that's a really big deal. It's not a problem, but you just need to understand it. It did, just like the factory magazine though, lock the bolt to the rear every time we run the gun dry. Let's talk a little bit about the carbine. So starting here at the muzzle, I would love to see High Point start to thread these muzzles, primarily because silencers have gotten a whole lot more popular. And I just feel like that would be a really good addition to add a little bit more versatility to the carbine. Moving up here to the front sight, it is a post type design. It is well protected and a peep rear sight. If you've ever shot any kind of service rifles, then this will be certainly a very familiar sight picture for you. The rear sight here is adjustable for windage and elevation. You'll notice along the bottom of the barrel, along the bottom of the handguard, as well as down the top of about half the receiver is rails. So that will allow you to add any kind of accessories you feel like make this carbine a little bit more user-friendly for yourself. Now, when High Point sent me this to review, it actually did come with one of their folding foregrips, and it's just got a little locking pin here, and it folds up out of the way, and there's a small little storage compartment in the bottom. So if that's something you think you'd be interested in, High Point does have a lot of different accessories that you can add to reconfigure this particular carbine. You can just go to High Point's website and see all what they've got available. Got a lot of really cool stuff, lights, lasers, foregrips, that sort of thing. So coming in here to the stock, it's just basically what you're used to seeing High Point carbine stock. They still including this kind of a shock absorbing recoil pad. I'm not exactly sure that's necessary considering the mass of the carbine, and it's chambered in 9mm. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt anything. Maybe somebody that would be very recoil sensitive would probably appreciate that, so I'm not going to knock it too hard on that. Coming along here to the pistol grip, it is actually very ergonomic. Though the gun is probably not the most attractive carbine in the world, it is not hard to shoot, and it is a pretty ergonomic carbine. So in my mind, function over form always. If it's reliable and reasonably accurate, in my mind, that trumps aesthetics all day long. So yeah. And here again, I want to reiterate, 100% reliable, plenty accurate for what it is. It's made in the United States of America, and it's got a lifetime warranty. So it's got a lot going for it at such a price point. I'm going to lower the bolt home. You can manually lock the bolt to the rear, and I want to talk about this trigger. Trigger is not really that bad. It does have some take up. Then brakes pretty clean at 6 pounds with right much over travel. An incorporated safety. Works just like it was supposed to. No troubles or issues with that. So let's talk a little bit about the gun snobbery in the gun community and High Points. I've done several High Point reviews. I know several people that own High Points, and you know, like I say, I mean, I recognize the fact that they are, you know, kind of, a lot of people look down their nose on them, and I mean, that's fine. If that's your opinion, that's the way you want to be, then that's okay. There's a lot of people out there that run their life on a shoestring budget. Regardless of that fact, they have the same rights as you and I to defend themselves and their home and their personal property and their own livelihood, as well as their families. And if, if they're depending on having to go out and spend, $700-800 on an AR-15, they may not have that kind of budget in their life. And so they do have a very viable option for a defensive carbine. And I've done ballistics testing, shooting 9mm out of a handgun and out of the carbine, and you definitely do gain a lot of ballistic advantage over a handgun out of this, obviously, not only because of your length and sight radius, but because you got so much more barrel, allows that round to develop a lot more velocity, making it more effective at penetrating and expanding like jacket hollow points were designed to do. So I'm not trying to get off on too much of a tangent here, but I do want to point out the fact that I do get tired of hearing people run down guns that I know work, and then there is certainly a market for these. So if you don't like them, that's fine, but I would challenge you, if you're a high point hater, find somebody that's got one. It ain't going to be that hard. And just take it to the range and run a few mags through it. And then try to see that particular firearm through their eyes. If you would do that for me, I would consider it a personal favor. Not that you even give a damn about that, but I just want people to remain open-minded. And just because it's cheap, don't mean it's cheap. You know what I mean? So, I guess I probably should use the word inexpensive, but I was trying to do a little bit of a play on words there, and I'm drifting. Apologies. I am very satisfied in the way this high point ran, as I expected to be. So that's really about all I got to add. It was a good review. I got a little bit of my personal opinion off my chest, and for what it's worth, I feel better. Anyway, so I want you to take care of yourselves and each other, and I look forward to seeing you at the range.